North America is home to countless commuter railroads, and today I'll be ranking them all. For the third and final installment of Ranking North American Commuter Rails, we'll be taking a look at the West Coast, as well as deciding the final rankings. Let's go! Let's begin with the Altamont Corridor Express, the first of many commuter rails in California. Altamont Corridor Express operates between the Silicon Valley and the much less populated San Joaquin Valley in Stockton. As its route would have you believe, ACE's frequency is quite weak, earning a 2. Altamont Corridor Express only operates 4 round trips a day, only during peak hours, and that's just not enough to earn it a respectable score. Next up for usefulness, ACE earns a 4. As I was alluding to, San Jose to Stockton just isn't the busiest commuter route, and though it does receive some ridership, ACE just doesn't compare to more major corridors like CalTrain or Coaster, as we'll see later. Next up, for modernity, ACE surprisingly earns a 6. California is infamously a very environmentally conscious state, and as such, it tends to provide a little more transit funding than most. Almost all commuter rails in California feature relatively new railcars and modern diesel locomotives. ACE is no exception, with a fleet of Bombardier bi-level cars and Siemens Charger Tier 4 diesels. Finally, for the Railfan score, ACE earns a 6. Though its trains aren't the most interesting, and its schedule is terrible, much of the Altamont Corridor is very scenic with mountains, valleys, and winding routes through canyons. Overall, the Altamont Corridor Express earns an 18 out of 40, placing it in the D tier. Next up is the commuter rail that connects with ACE in San Jose, CalTrain. Now CalTrain is just about a month away from debuting brand new electric train services, and I don't want this entry to be outdated in a matter of weeks, so to keep this video relevant, I'll be ranking CalTrain as if it were running its electric trains right now. First off, for frequency, CalTrain earns an 8. Right now, CalTrain's schedule with electric services isn't public, but even with its current diesel services, it has an outstanding frequency. During rush hour, trains run in both directions approximately every 20 minutes, and even off-peak, trains are around 30 minutes apart. For now, CalTrain earns an 8 here, but if they increase service once electrification is fully rolled out, CalTrain's frequency score could be even better. In terms of usefulness, CalTrain earns a 7. The corridor from San Francisco to San Jose, through Silicon Valley, is infamous for traffic, and CalTrain, along with BART, are very reliable forms of transportation. The only reason why its score isn't higher is that CalTrain is basically just one line, albeit one very busy line at that. Next up, it's time for the modernity score. CalTrain is objectively the most modern commuter rail in the United States because it's the first one to hold a candle to European or Asian commuter rails. It's fast, convenient, and its trains are brand new EMUs built by Stadler. Its infrastructure is even built to be compatible with California high-speed rail in the future. The only thing keeping CalTrain's score from a 10 is its remaining diesel services south of San Jose, 9. Finally, for the Railfan score, CalTrain earns a 4. Obviously, I think that the new electric version of CalTrain is the most unique and interesting commuter rail in North America, but I don't know if your average Railfan will agree with that. The new trains are all the same, and the corridor itself isn't terribly scenic or interesting. Overall, CalTrain does very well, earning a 28 out of 40. Continuing on to another California commuter rail, we find our way onto the San Diego to Oceanside Coaster Corridor, one of my personal favorites. Bias aside, Coaster earns a 4 for frequency. On weekdays, it runs rush hour trains about every 30 minutes apart, but off-peak trains are more like every 2 hours. Definitely below average. Next up, for usefulness, Coaster earns a 6. It serves some major parts of San Diego and many communities to the north, but it's definitely not replacing owning a car anytime soon. In terms of modernity, Coaster is doing about the same with the 6. While its new Charger locomotives are pretty good, some of its rail cars are getting a little old, and most of the line is still single-tracked. With proper double tracking, more new cars, and perhaps some electrification, Coaster could be improved quite a bit. Finally, for the Railfan score, Coaster is saved with an 8. As I was saying, the trains aren't particularly that interesting, but its route is by far, and I mean by far, the most scenic of any commuter rail in North America. Coaster can be seen running at grade through downtown San Diego, through a canyon, and along the Pacific coast, all at speeds of up to 90 miles per hour. Overall, this tallies up to a 24 out of 40, placing Coaster in the C tier. Next up is FrontRunner, the commuter rail serving Salt Lake City and its surrounding areas. Let's take a look at that schedule. Trains every 30 minutes during rush hour and every hour off-peak. That seems pretty average to me. 5. Much like its schedule, FrontRunner's usefulness is just average. It serves a city that I didn't even know had a commuter rail until recently, and based on its ridership, I guess it's not bad. I don't know anything about Salt Lake City, so I don't have much more to say. Turns out FrontRunner is just extremely average because its modernity score is also a 5. It operates relatively modern MP36 locomotives and Bombardier cars, which are completely acceptable but not impressive for a commuter rail of this size. Finally, for its Railfan score, FrontRunner earns a 3. As you can probably tell, FrontRunner is one of many Western commuter rails with one line, Bombardier cars, and MPI locomotives. There's just not much to be excited about here. Overall, FrontRunner earns an 18 out of 40, placing it in the D tier. Back in California, we find ourselves on Metrolink, the commuter rail of Los Angeles. As is the case with most multi-line commuter rails, its frequency ranges from pretty good to pretty bad, depending on what part of the system you're on. Overall, I'd say it's just slightly above average, earning a 6. It is quite useful, however, earning a 7. Los Angeles has some of the worst traffic in the country, and Metrolink does a pretty good job of serving most of LA's suburbs. Despite its northern counterpart, CalTrain, being the most modern commuter rail in the country, Metrolink is unfortunately lacking in this category. It uses modern F-125 diesel locomotives and slightly less modern MP36s, and its railcars are relatively new. Where it loses points, however, is its irrational fear of electrifying. Over the past year, it seems Metrolink has completely forgotten what electrification is, instead proposing to convert its oldest engines to battery or hydrogen fuel cells. If Metrolink was able to begin electrifying, its score would be much better, but for now it's just about average with a 5. Finally, for the Railfan score, Metrolink earns a 3. While at one point it operated one of the coolest fleets of EMD locomotives out west, nowadays your average rush hour will be the same train over and over. While the F-125 seem to be more reliable and better for the environment, they sure are boring to see one after the other. Overall, Metrolink earns a 21 out of 40, placing it in the C tier. Next up is FrontRunner. Oh wait, this is a different commuter rail. This is RailRunner, the commuter rail that serves Albuquerque and Santa Fe, New Mexico, and it's basically just a worse FrontRunner. Its schedule is just slightly worse, earning a 3 for frequency. It serves a less populated area, earning a 4 for usefulness, and its modernity is the same, with a 5, as it uses the same exact cars and locomotives as FrontRunner. Can you tell this one's a little boring? Speaking of boring, its Railfan score is a 3, because unfortunately there's just not a lot to see on RailRunner. Overall, it's a 15 out of 40, placing it in the F tier. One state to the north is the relatively new RTD Rail, one of the most underrated commuter rails in the country. Denver's commuter rail has 4 fully electrified lines operating all around the city. For frequency, RTD earns an outstanding 9, with multiple lines featuring all-day trains every 15 to 30 minutes. This is the gold standard for commuter rail, and the only thing keeping RTD from a 10 are a few lines with 1-hour waits between trains. Next up, for usefulness, RTD earns a 7. It has really good ridership on certain lines, but much worse numbers on others, but its airport connection is a big plus. RTD is fully electrified and uses modern Silverliner 5 trains originally created for SEPTA, so of course I have to give it a high modernity score. RTD earns a 9, and the only thing holding it back is its 79 mph top speed. If this was increased to 90 or higher, this could easily be a 10. Finally, for the Railfan score, RTD earns a 2. All of its trains are exactly the same, and it's definitely not very scenic. Basically, it's great at being a commuter rail, but not so great at being a Railfan service. Wait, isn't that what it's supposed to do? Anyways, RTD earns a 27 out of 40, placing it in the B tier. Next up is Sounder, Seattle's commuter rail, which is just very average. It earns a 5 for frequency, usefulness, and modernity. Trains run about an hour apart off-peak and about every 30 minutes during rush hour. It does a decent job of serving Seattle and its suburbs, and its equipment is on average somewhat modern. The only score that isn't a 5 is the Railfan score, and that's thanks to Sounder's F59 PHI locomotives, which I'm a big fan of. Overall, Sounder earns a 22 out of 40, placing it in the C tier. Finally, let's look at West Coast Express, Canada's version of Sounder. West Coast Express uses the exact same trains as Sounder and serves Vancouver, Canada's version of Seattle. Unfortunately, unlike Sounder, West Coast Express is a little below average with the 3 score for frequency. West Coast Express, like the other Canadian commuter rails, tends to highly prioritize rush hour travelers, so its schedule is basically useless midday. Next up, for the usefulness score, West Coast Express earns a 4. Its one line seems to be a relatively well-traveled corridor, but its ridership just isn't that strong. Next up, for modernity, West Coast Express earns a 3. Its engines and cars are a little bit older, and its most modern engine is one single MP36 that serves as a backup most of the time. Finally, for the Railfan score, West Coast Express earns a 7. I love F59 PHIs, so this score might be a little inflated. Other than that, West Coast Express seems to have decent scenery and is definitely a commuter rail that I'd love to visit. Overall, West Coast Express earns a 17 out of 40, placing it in the D tier. And there we go, that's the final tier list. I think it looks pretty good, but there are a few much needed changes. First off, I kinda snubbed Go Transit, and I think it's easily deserving of a ranking in the B tier. Its frequency isn't as bad as I made it seem, and it does operate a massive system. Next up, I think the Trinity Railway Express seems out of place in the C tier. It's just not useful or notable enough to roll with the likes of the MBTA, Metra, or Metrolink. Unfortunately, TRE is getting sacked to the D tier. Other than that, I think this is a solid tier list, and before you say, yes, the S tier is empty. At this point in time, I just don't think there's any North American commuter rail that's perfect, or even close to perfect. Compared to countries like Japan, the Netherlands, or Germany, Canada and the United States have pretty bad commuter rail services, and even our best commuter rails can't hold a candle to them quite yet. Maybe one day there will be an S-tier commuter rail in North America, but unfortunately today is not that day. Speaking of the best commuter rail in North America, let's take a look at what I believe to be the very best and the very worst commuter railroad. First off, for last place, with a rather unfortunate 14 out of 40 points, the worst commuter rail in North America is WeGo Star, Nashville's commuter rail. WeGo Star shows all the symptoms of a bad commuter rail with a weak schedule, low usefulness factor, ancient, and I mean ancient equipment, and a weak RailFan score. Sorry Nashville, transit's just not your strong suit. Next up, for the best commuter rail, I have to give it to the Long Island Railroad. While technically CalTrain and the Long Island Railroad are tied for first place, I have to give it to the East Coast, as currently CalTrain hasn't actually begun full electrified service. It just feels weird to give CalTrain first place based on something that's still currently lacking for the most part. Obviously, next month, when electric service begins, CalTrain may indeed take the Long Island Railroad's title for North America's best commuter rail, but until then, the Long Island Railroad wins. Finally, I just want to quickly order each tier from best to worst for a comprehensive ranking of each commuter rail. And there you go, that's every North American commuter rail ranked from best to worst. Anyways, thanks for watching. This has been a bit of a one-off video series, and until a handful more commuter rails are created in North America, this will be the last episode. Thanks everyone for watching, and for your feedback on each episode. Let me know in the comments, do you agree with my rankings? Anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon in another video.